Hello, friends and fellow bakers. How are you doing? It's Chef Tom from ChefInstructorTom.com. Welcome back to the channel. I do appreciate you stopping by. Today we're going to make some pita bread. And pita is a very practical bread as well because you can fill it with so many things. But it tastes good on its own or with just some hummus. The dough is super simple. It's really the makeup or the shaping that makes a big difference in the bread. I think I've figured out what makes my pita pop. And I'm going to show you how to do it right now. Let's go to the kitchen. Well, let's mix up the dough. It's just bread flour, whole wheat flour, yeast, kosher salt, a little bit of sugar for browning, water, olive oil for our liquid. The olive oil is going to help us with the stretchiness in the dough. I did want to talk about baker's percentage. We got a baker's percentage quick tip coming up in the near future, but it's 20% whole wheat flour, which means of the total weight of flour, and we always think of the flour is 100%. 20% of that is whole wheat, 80% is white bread flour. So just the easy way to think about it, if you were to do, say, we're going to do 325 grams of water. 325 divided by the 500 grams of the 100% of flour will give us 65% water. I hope that makes some sense. You'll see how it comes together. And this is a way bakers communicate with each other. This is the way we always mix up breads. So think in terms of baker's percentage and you're going to make even better bread. To mix the bread, all I'm going to do is I'm going to combine the flours, and we don't have to sift for this one at all. The yeast, we're using instant yeast, and as you know, of course, instant yeast does not need to be mixed with the water at all. Kosher salt, no, it won't kill the yeast. The sugar, and I'm just going to mix it around a little bit just to get an even distribution. And then I'm going to add in my water, olive oil, and then I'm just going to mix just a kind of a shaggy dough. I'm not going to really work it that much at this point. Not going to really develop a lot of gluten. What we're going to do is we're going to mix this one and let it rest for an hour after we have it mixed. We call that the hydration stage. That's hard to say. And this mixing period might only take a minute or two. And it's not going to look like much when we're done. I'm not going to add any extra flour or any extra water. That is my formula. That's all I'm going to use. Getting excess dough off of the spatula. And then we're going to work a little bit by hand. And that's it. That's all you need to do. Just get it to that point, and then we can cover it with a towel and let it rest for an hour. This will hydrate the dough, it'll activate the yeast, and we'll be able to make a nice, smooth, uniform dough in no time at all. So after an hour, we can stretch and fold this, and you're going to want to have, of course, your plastic bowl scraper, bench scraper, some water to put your hands into, because we're going to take this dough out, and we can get this towel out of here. You can really pretty much pull most of it out by hand. And remember, we had just kind of a shaggy dough here, not a really well-developed dough. For this pita, we're going to give it 3 stretch and folds over the course of about another hour after this. I'm just going to stretch it. And already it's getting a lot smoother than what it was just a few minutes ago. But that's it. And then we're going to put this back in the bowl and give it 20 minutes rest. And after 20 minutes, we'll give it another stretch and fold. And then this will serve as our fermentation time. This is all we need to do. And then we're ready to shape and proof and bake. That's it. Okay, I am back for my second stretch and fold. It's been 20 minutes since we took it out of the original main hydration, and now we're ready to do our second fold. And it comes out much easier, as you can see, with our bench scraper. Still going to handle it with wet hands. Give it a good stretch there. Give it a good stretch out like so. And some people will do this in the bowl. I like to do it on the countertop. Especially it's nice when you can show folks kind of close up how it looks. Nice looking dough, really nice and uniform. And again, like I said, this is 65% water. You could go a little bit more, but I think it holds its shape a little bit better when you do 65%. So that's 325 grams of water to 500 grams of flour for those Baker's Percentage fans following along at home. Let's cover it up for another 20 minutes, and we will give it another stretch and fold a little bit, and we'll be done with our fermentation. I have my oven preheating to 450, and we're not quite there yet, almost. And then I also have my stone already in the oven preheating, and it's been preheating for about a half an hour already. During this time, the stone will get really nice and hot. It'll stay hot, and that's going to be what we bake our pitas on. The dough is now rested and we're seeing some gas production there, not a lot, but we can take it out of the bowl. We can give it one final stretch and fold. And after this, we're going to give it just about 5 minutes rest. And then after that 5 minutes rest, we're going to cut it up into 150 gram pieces for our final pita dough. But you notice how it's getting really nice and shiny there. The dough is really quite developed now. It's quite strong. And we need that strength to trap the gas. That's going to be a big factor in making those pita kind of poof up. So this is going to get just 5 minutes more rest, and then we'll have a little bit of flour. We'll need our scale, a bench scraper to cut up the dough, and we'll have pita within the hour. So I think we're ready to cut these guys up into their 150 gram pieces, and that seems to be a sweet spot for me. That's going to give you a pita that's about maybe 6 inches diameter. We're going to put a little bit of flour on a tray here, because we're just going to let them proof on this tray, but then we will actually transfer them directly to the oven. And you can make them smaller, you can make them bigger, it's up to you, but with that 6 inches, you get a really nice pita that makes a great sandwich. So let's cut them up. Put that on 0. A little high there. Perfect. So we end up with, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces. Okay, we're going to round these guys. And just like we're making the rolls, we're going to round these. And if you find they're a little sticky, then go ahead and put a little flour down. You can always put a little bit of flour on your hands too. Don't put down so much flour, though, you can't roll them. They do need to stick to the table a little bit to be roundable, if that's such a word. Now we're going to give these guys just a little bit more rest, and then we'll final round them, and then we'll roll them out using the rolling pin. If you don't have a rolling pin, you can use a wine bottle, but if you're this far in baking, get yourself a rolling pin. I think you'll enjoy it. So let's roll out our doughs, and we're going to put these guys over here for the time being. Give yourself some room to roll out, and give yourself some flour. Now, usually I say don't use any flour, but for this one, I will allow it. Kind of like doing a pizza almost. Try to roll in all different directions. And kind of when you get to that 6-inch mark, then you kind of know you're done. Now, one of the key things here is it needs to be sealed all the way around. So you want to, where on a pie dough, it doesn't really matter quite as much. This one, we want to make sure that we get it rolled out all very evenly. It's about a 1/4 inch thick. And unlike a pizza dough where you normally want to stretch it like this, just use a pin because you want it flat. And if I go too much more, it's gonna going to be too thin. That's just about perfect. I'll put that on my floured sheet and I'm good to go. Let's do another one. It's okay to turn it over as you go. Try to get it as round as possible. And you see that little cutout there? That may be where it doesn't quite open up enough. It's a little thin there, so I'm going to try to fix that, but if not, it'll still be good. Even if they don't open up all the way, they're still really tasty. And I'm rolling pretty aggressively here too. And if these overlap a little bit, that's okay as well. That's totally fine. They're just going to get a little bit of proofing, and then we'll bake them within the next 20-25 minutes or so. Try to get them all as uniform as possible, and we're pretty close to that. So we've got 6 rolled out there. These are going to get just another 20 minutes rest, covered up. Like I said, the oven is already preheated to 450. We're going to put these directly on the baking stone to bake them. Now these guys have had just about 25 minutes of proofing time. They're not super puffy, but you can see that they are just a little more supple. They're going to go right in the oven. I'm going to do 3 at a time. Just kind of throw it right in there. Well, that one's kind of ruined. I wasn't careful enough. I shouldn't just throw it in there. I will just put in 2 at a time. We'll close up the oven and we'll see what they look like in about 5 minutes. I'll give you a look at what they look like just partway through baking. You see this guy's starting to poof up a little bit. This guy may or may not, because I kind of pooched the launch on that one a little bit, but I'll do better on the next one. But you can start to see where it's really starting to open up, even in real time. Now you may want to turn these over partway through baking. Get a little brownie on the other side if you like. And as this guy, unfortunately, did not open up, no big deal, but lovely color on that. You don't want a ton of color on there. Just another few minutes in the oven and you're done. Total baking time is only about 5 minutes. I'm going to cool them on a wire rack, of course. Let's see if I can't do a little better on the next launch. Let's try this one again. Gently place it in the oven. And they're getting really nice and soft now, so maybe only 2 at a time. Check this one out. This one is really growing a lot. And each one's going to be a little different. Let's see if we can't flip him over here. Here we go. It's always a good idea to let the oven kind of reheat a little bit, get the stone back to full temperature before you put the next batch in. So I've been doing them 2 by 2, and with this one we'll put our last 2 in. And there they are. You really want to put just the bare minimum of color on these guys. I do both sides. That way they're baked all the way through. And these guys have been cooling, so let's take a look then And this one's opened up pretty nicely. I would say it looks pretty good. Let's open it up with a nice serrated knife here. Cut right through it. And then we'll notice here, this happens a lot too. Now I was pretty lucky the other day. I ended up with even sides. This one is not quite as even, but we did get a nice pocket inside there, and it is just really nice and moist on the inside. Let's have a taste. Really nice balance of flavor. Not super salty, just really nice and savory. Beautiful. So there's your finished pita. And if yours don't open up just on the first try, don't worry. It takes a little practice. It does take some time to get used to rolling these. But once you do, it becomes very, very... Well, there you have another cool and easy bread to make. These make great sandwiches. You don't have to do just Middle Eastern stuff like hummus or falafel in them. They are good with just ham and cheese, turkey, anything you want to put in there. They are good to fill. A lot of times I'll just put vegetables, maybe a little bit of slaw in there, and I got a beautiful vegetarian sandwich as well. I hope you try them soon. Thanks for checking out the video today. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you get a chance. I do appreciate that as well. And I'll see you next week on Chef Instructor Tom. Happy baking.